So excited to have you here. My name is Vicki Townsend, and I'm the founder and president of Divorce Right. And we provide training for HR professionals and company supervisors, and we provide divorce coaching and case management, providing that extra guidance and direction that your divorcing employees so desperately need. Divorce is a huge disruptor, not only to the employee going through it, but to the company they work for. And our coaches have a very unique perspective on divorce that sets us apart. We come in with a deep understanding of the legal, financial, and emotional aspects of divorce, and we can handle even the highest conflict of cases with compassion and professionalism. Our coaches are trained to look at the entire picture, helping your employees make good decisions based on their goals and their expectations. So if you're a benefits manager in HR or HR benefits provider or consultant, please reach out to us and see if adding our suite of solutions is a good fit for your business. And today, we've never done this before, but I think it's a really good time for us to talk about recovering from a divorce with a certified divorce recovery coach, Leah Marie Mazur. And let me tell you a little bit about her. As a visionary leader of Mindfully Ready and a certified divorce recovery coach, Leah embodies resilience and transformation. Her journey through two personal divorces has not only deepened her empathy, but also sharpened her insight, guiding her to a profound calling in the divorce recovery journey. Leah's approach transcends traditional coaching. It's an empathetic and holistic journey to rediscover joy and peace and self-worth. Her own path to healing and growth fuels her dedication to support others in turning one of life's most challenging transitions into a powerful opportunity for personal empowerment and self-renewal. In her coaching sessions, Leah combines compassionate understanding with practical, actionable strategies. She provides a nurturing space for her clients to heal, grow, and emerge with renewed strength and clarity. Leah's mission is clear: to guide you in reshaping your post-divorce life into a story of resilience, self-discovery, and profound transformation. And she has a very informative and positive delivery style on all of her social medias. I found her on TikTok. I'm going to put that up for you guys to find her. She is really a joy to watch, and she gives such incredible advice for those going through it. Welcome, Leah. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Thanks for having me, Vicki.
I'm so glad that you're here with us today, because we really talk about all of the stuff that they need to know about the divorce process. But what we haven't really tackled yet on this is what's life like for these people afterwards, right? What's going on? So let's talk, let's go, when they first find out that they're going through a divorce, let's talk about that chaos that's going on in their mind. What's going on in there?
Yeah. Well, there's so much fear of the unknown because your whole life is about to be uprooted. Everything is going to change. You're worried if you have kids, you're worried about how it's going to impact your kids and what that co-parenting scenario is going to look like. And maybe you're worried about money. And so there's a lot that you're dealing with, all of those unknown factors and a lot of that fear. And that's where all of that stress comes from. I mean, divorce, as we both know,
Right.
it's one of the most stressful things you can experience as a human. Usually it's within the top 5 most stressful things you can experience, right under death of a loved one. Yeah.
Number 2.
And so it is, it's a high stakes situation. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with something like that, it can bring out the worst in people too. And so not only are you trying to navigate your whole life changing, but then you're also trying to then maybe co-parent or, come to some kind of, agreements with someone who maybe they're so stressed that they're just not the same person that you knew all this time. And so there's just a lot of things that happen that are unexpected, I think, or that people don't warn you about, and all that fear.
Oh, it's filled with fear. One of the things that we talk about at work is that fear creates, there's something in the HR world, and it was a kind of a word developed by Harvard Business Review called presenteeism. And that's that situation where you're physically present at work, right? You're there, but mentally you are just checked out.
Yeah.
And for our clients that are going through it, they're fearful of everything. They're fearful of losing their children. They're fearful of losing their job. They're
Mhm.
fearful of losing their house. How can they possibly get through this without worry?
Mhm.
Particularly if they don't have a plan in place.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, worry is obviously so common, but the thing you have to remember is it's so important to just focus on what is in your control. That worry is really just an energy suck. It's not going to change any outcomes or get you anywhere. And so making sure that you're very clear on what is within your control and anything that isn't, you need to not focus on that because you want to keep your energy focused on the right things. And yeah, I mean, especially when you're at work and you're trying to focus on something, it's hard to stay present. Like you were saying, I had never heard of that term before, but because there's just so much going on in your mind. I mean, especially if you're about to be a single parent, I mean, that means you have so many balls up in the air and so many things that you have to juggle, and just making sure that everybody is okay and that you're taking care of yourself, and then also that you're keeping your job and that you're paying your bills, and there really is there's a lot to it. A lot goes into it.
You just recently posted a TikTok video about that very thing about self-care and the importance of self-care. It's really great. Let me put this is where you can find her. Her channel is absolutely worth a dive into because it's just filled with such great information and she's so authentic. Tell us about that one about your self-care that you just posted.
Yeah. So there's actually there's studies coming out that show that it's one of the indicators on whether or not your children are going to grow up to thrive is the level of the mother's happiness. Not just like, oh, am I in a good mood all the time? But it's like, if there's a mom who's struggling with depression and low self esteem or anxiety disorder or high levels of stress, that prevents that mom from being able to show up and nurture and support her kids the way that she would like to. So we've been told all this time that as a mom you're meant to sacrifice. The kids always come first and you got to put yourself on the back burner. And research is showing that really is just not true, and that you really do need to be high on your priority list and make sure that you're meeting your own needs and you're taking care of yourself and practicing self-care. Because if you don't do that, then you can't show up as the best version of yourself and your kids aren't getting the best version of you. Plus, that's not even to mention the coping mechanisms and the skills that you're passing on to your kids. Or you don't want to teach them that they should be putting themselves last and that their needs don't matter and that they shouldn't find fulfillment and be happy and take care of themselves, right? So you have to lead from the front. You have to make sure that you are filling your own cup, not only so that you can show up as the best parent that you can be, but also you're teaching your kids those important skills for when they're growing up and finding themselves in their own relationships.
It's so, what is that? What they say when you get on into an airline, it's, put on
The
your
oxygen mask. Yeah, it goes on you first because you're no good to anyone else if you can't breathe when the plane's going down.
And it's so particularly true. It's particularly true in that case, but it's also so super important in this case. So we've talked kind of about, the whole, start of it, the chaos that's going on in their mind. So they've gone through it with the help and support of Divorce Right. They have come through it in a kinder and gentler way. So they're done with the signing, right?
Mhm.
They've got their decree in their
Mhm.
hands, right? But
Yeah.
what does that look like? What's now the issues that they're facing?
Right. So just adjusting to your new life, especially if you have kids. So you go from maybe having somebody that was more involved or that could help with things around the house or is helping paying bills, to now everything is on you and you're the one that has to figure out how to do it all and keep all those balls in the air. And so that there's a high level of stress that comes with that too. And so that's why it's important to make sure that you're finding these pockets throughout your day and throughout your week where you can do things that help center yourself, ground yourself, find some joy, things like that. But also There's still a lot of fear of the unknown because you're facing a whole new chapter and a whole new version of yourself that hasn't ever existed yet. And so it's important to let yourself grieve the life you had, the future you thought you were going to have, the house maybe you moved out of, the partner you used to have. There's so many deaths that are happening that you really need to be patient with yourself and let yourself go through it, because when you're in the process of divorce, that takes up so much of your energy and your focus is just getting through that. And then when that's done, that's when a lot of it really sinks in, when you realize, whoa, okay, like I'm divorced, that just happened, and now I have no idea what my future looks like or what this is going to bring. And so letting yourself grieve, and that self-reflection piece is huge. That is really one of the most empowering things that you can do. That was one of my biggest mistakes after my first divorce is I didn't do any of the things you're supposed to do. I didn't take the time to heal. I hopped into another relationship. I did no like self-reflecting, and I didn't look back to see and understand like what was my role in this. What part did I play? What red flags did I ignore? What boundaries was I not setting? I wasn't looking at any of that. I just knew I didn't want to be alone. Hopped into another relationship. Time goes on, and now I'm divorced a second time, and that was really my wake-up call. Like, okay, well, obviously this formula wasn't working very well for me. I needed to figure out something else, and that's why it's so important, because when you understand what your role in it was, that is what empowers you to make better choices moving forward. And then that's going to give you better results moving forward, because I've seen it, unfortunately, time and time again, where people wind up in the same kinds of relationships over and over and over. And it's because, you're missing that piece of, okay, why am I attracting these people into my life? What is it within me that is on that frequency or vibration, or like what do I need to look in myself and focus on and heal? And it's not to say that you are taking all the blame or saying, oh yeah, everything is my fault, but we all do play a role. And so that self-reflective piece is huge if you want to make sure that you're on the right track moving forward.
Heck yes, it is. And I have to say that I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
Because I did, had those two divorces where I did engage with the same type of person, because I'm a rescuer. No, I was a rescuer.
Uh-huh.
Now I do it professionally, and I don't do it personally, which was a very big shift for me, because the first words out of my mouth were, I can help you with that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Clients, I'm like, listen, dating apps are not Pinterest. We're not looking for DIY projects, right? We're not looking to like fix anybody. And I think that's the other thing is we have to remember, like, we date at the same level as our self-esteem. And so wherever you're at mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that's the kind of people you're going to be attracting. So, if you want to level up, then the more work you put into yourself, then the more likely you are to attract partners who also have put in that work for themselves.
Absolutely. Because one thing that I can attest to, who's on those dating apps myself, is that there is a lot of people that have not done the work.
Yeah.
They show up with the same anger or bitterness, just they're not good partners because the fact that they never did any self-reflection on what the heck got them there. And that I feel is really positive. But I will be honest with you, even after my last divorce, I still got into yet one more relationship with the same type of person where I said, I can help you with that. Well, you know what? Here's the big tip of the day. You can't change others. You can only change yourself. They have to change themselves.
Yes.
So as we kind of now move past kind of that conversation, what are some tips? Give us like 5 great tips that people can use to heal themselves so that they can recover from the real toxicity of that breakup. Because it's, it's divorce. Even on its best day, divorce sucks.
Yes.
It just does. There's nothing in it that it rarely, I've heard even people that go, oh, we did it, we mediated, and, it was really, we're still friends, and that's great, but it was still stressful. It was
Mhm.
still
Yeah.
taking over your brain. It was still taking over your mind. It was still, you were still calling yourself into question. So now we're finished. So what, give us some go-to action items that we can take.
Yeah. So one of the things that I talk about all the time, and it's such a simple tool, but it's so powerful, is journaling. That's something I've been in therapy at different points in my life, and that's something even my therapist would recommend. And there really is a lot of reasons for this. Number one, it helps you make sense of things. A lot of times when there's so much stuff kind of floating around in our brain, it's hard for us to have clarity around that. So when you get it out and onto paper and you can kind of look at it from a more objective viewpoint, it sometimes helps you find answers within yourself that you didn't even know that you knew. And it also is a great way to track your progress, because a lot of times when you're kind of going through a divorce and going through the healing process, you think in your mind, I should be over this by now. I shouldn't still be mad. I shouldn't still be upset. Why am I not further along? And you forget how far you've really come. And so that journaling is a way to try, you can look back 30 days, 6 months from before, and you could go, oh yeah, I do remember when I was thinking those things and feeling those things. And I guess I have come a lot further than I thought. And it's just a really therapeutic thing, even to get things out. Sometimes we harbor a lot of anger and resentment towards our ex, or just towards the whole process in and of itself, or ourselves. We're just angry at ourselves and we haven't forgiven ourselves. And so even like writing letters to yourself or to your ex in that journal is very, very therapeutic. And so that's something that I always recommend.
Getting that out. It's interesting. I haven't journaled in a long time, and you're inspiring me to do it again. But I did find a journal when I was moving out of Fort Lauderdale. I did find a journal from probably, I don't know, right after my last marriage was ending. And boy, was I a big old mess.
Right.
There's no
Sure.
denying it, right? I just was not in a good space. I was not feeling good things. And I didn't feel great about myself, or how I kept saying, I've done it again. How did I do this again? How did I let myself get in there? And I guess I didn't believe in myself that I could get through this, or that
Mhm.
I would get through it.
Mhm.
And I'll be darned. I did.
You did, yeah.
I did the work that was necessary, and I got through it. So
Yeah.
you may liken it to eating an elephant one bite at a time,
Mhm.
and that may be just enough, right?
Yeah.
Just taking those baby steps. So
Yeah.
what else you got? What journaling sounds fantastic. What
Yeah.
else is there?
Great exercise. Another thing, and this really, honestly, it changed my life, is mindfulness and meditation. And I know that sometimes when people hear that, they're like immediately kind of like, "Oh my God!" and it's intimidating, and they think I can't sit in a lotus position and like cross my legs and just meditate
Yeah.
a Buddha would. Or it really doesn't have to be like that. It's really a tool to help you cultivate that self-awareness that we're talking about, because a lot of times all of those emotions that you feel that maybe you would label negative, whether it's anger or resentment or anything like that, even grief, those feelings are coming from the conversations that are going on in your mind, right? Those thoughts are happening first that then cause that feeling in your body. So when you can learn to trace those feelings back to whatever is going on in your mind, and then intentionally choose new thoughts and choose new perspectives that give you a different feeling, that's what's going to help you move through those difficult emotions. And so mindfulness is something that you can practice in a lot of different ways. I mean, some people go on mindful walks. You could do mindful eating. You could do a breath work, as a mindfulness practice. In meditation, the most common thing I hear is, well, I can't, I tried it and I suck at it. I couldn't quiet my brain, and it's not for me. And that's really a misconception. Our brains pump out 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. It's mayhem up there. And so it's okay that when you try to sit and quiet your mind, that your mind's not necessarily stopping. It's not going to. Like, unless you're dead, thoughts are going to keep popping up in your mind. So really the bicep curl of meditation is just trying to bring yourself into the present moment. So like focusing on your breath is the easiest the simplest place to start. And when you feel your mind drifting off and thinking about who you forgot to email or what you're going to make for dinner later, and that might happen 100 times in 10 minutes. It's about just acknowledging that you drifted without judgment, and then bringing yourself back to your breath again. And then you start over. And that's the bicep curl, because then what's going to happen is you're going to find that you can go back to that tool at any point in your day, at any point in your life. So if you're at work and you find that you're kind of drifting off, your brain now is getting used to realizing that you're not focused on what you're supposed to be. And then without judgment, you can bring yourself back again and then focus on whatever the task at hand is. So that's a really, really powerful tool that's going to help in a lot of aspects of your life.
I'll never forget. I met a woman. She's a neuroscientist at UC Berkeley. Her name is Dr. Daniela Koffer. If she's watching us, or if you know her, she's awesome. She actually has her own lab called the Koffer Lab at UC Berkeley, and she studies stress on rats.
Oh,
That's all she does. And I learned so much about cortisol. And the impact of that stress hormone. That's the fight or flight for everybody. That's that fight or flight hormone that we, that comes out when we're in danger, right? And divorced people are in cortisol flood all the time. It was, originally, it was really meant to get us away from the tiger that's walked past our cave door back in the day, right? To shut down other things, to get, blood and energy to your quads, your glutes, your hamstrings, so that you can get the heck away from the tiger.
Survival mode. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. But it was never meant to be flooding our brains for days, weeks, months, years, and in cases of divorce, even decades, right? We are not supposed to have this level of cortisol on our brains. So one of the things that Daniela Koffer discovered was that the fastest way that you can get cortisol off of your brain, which is that fog. Everybody talks about how they're in a fog when they're divorced, is meditation and yoga. So you are absolutely right on this. That is absolutely, and it's free. Do it, right?
Yes.
It's not a medication that you have to take. It is a way to get this stuff off your brain.
Yes. And everybody can do it. I mean, they teach children how to meditate. I mean, it really is possible. It just takes practice. That's why they call it a meditation practice. The more you do it, the better you get. And then that kind of brings me into the next one. Speaking of like cortisol levels and yoga, exercise. Do not underestimate the power of exercise and how that ties into your emotional well-being. It produces endorphins, like the chemicals that act as natural painkillers and mood elevators. It improves your focus and your memory and your cognitive flexibility, and it helps with emotional resilience. And it improves your sleep, which is probably another thing that you might be struggling with if you've been really stressed and you have a lot going on. Making sure that you're getting quality sleep is huge when it comes to like your focus and at work and your energy levels and things like that. So just finding things that work for you. Maybe you're not somebody who necessarily loves to, hit the weights at the gym. That's okay. I mean, like Vicky had said, yoga, maybe just going for a walk outside, maybe just getting some of those resistance bands, for $5 on Amazon and doing it while you're watching your favorite Netflix show. It doesn't have to be anything formal, but it's just that moving your body on a regular basis is going to help. Not only you physically, there's physical benefits, but mentally and emotionally, it does make a huge difference.
Yeah, that's absolutely a good thing. And so for employers out there, if you've got a gym in your office or gym membership for your employees, or if there's a track nearby that at lunchtime they can get out and just take a half an hour's walk, that's a great way for them to get that kind of get that cortisol under control.
Yes. And I don't know if, I know some employees sometimes maybe employers take their employees out for like happy hour or things like that. But if they do, you may want to reconsider that because actually a really great way to decrease stress and anxiety is to wean off of the booze. Alcohol affects those neurotransmitters in your brain, including serotonin, which is that happy hormone that you want your brain to keep producing. And when you mess with that, you're asking for emotional dysregulation. It disrupts your sleep as well. It impairs your judgment. And it does take a physical toll. It could lead to like dehydration, blood sugar fluctuations, digestive issues. And so, even though when you go through something that's really stressful in your life, or even sometimes when we're celebrating, like some people might want to like celebrate that they just got divorced. You want to be really careful about how much alcohol you're consuming, because it can actually do more harm than good and make things even more complicated for you than they already are.
And that's the truth. I mean, when you just said that, I remember when back in the day when I was in the radio business, and we were always, we always did very well on our Arbitron ratings. And so we would go out and celebrate with a lot of booze,
Yeah.
And maybe an idea is celebrating with a yoga class.
Yeah.
Or, right? Go
Yeah.
out, get everybody, or
Or
go
like a
out.
group hike. You could like go on a hike somewhere or something.
Yeah, team
Mhm.
building, something
Yeah.
team building to get them out and connected with each other, can maybe
Mhm.
connected with nature. I think that's a great idea. I like that thought
Mhm.
process, because it's true. That's what we did. We did happy hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those happy hours sometimes led into a lot of happy.
Yeah, right. And and sometimes again it impairs your judgment. I mean, then you might say things you weren't gonna share, or you might end up texting someone that you would have never texted. I mean, and then you wake up the next day and you have more problems than you did the day before. So you really do have to be careful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But do you have one more for us before we wrap
Yes.
this up?
Yeah, so we really often underestimate the power of our diet, like what we put into our bodies and how that affects us and how we feel emotionally. Whether that's like your blood sugar levels, the serotonin boost, hydration, that gut brain connection, all of that stuff. So just make sure that you're eating foods that help nourish you, like nourish your body and nourish your mind, because the more junk food and processed food that you eat, that really does have a direct correlation with what's going on in your brain. And if you're feeling depressed or sluggish, or if you have a hard time focusing. And so, and that's something that everybody can, sprinkle a little bit more into their day, is just making sure they're getting, more whole foods and drinking enough water, and kind of staying away from things like sugar and caffeine too much. That's going to impair the way that their brain works.
Yeah, absolutely. So healthy eating. And for
Yes.
those employers that provide, lunch at work, dinner, meals at work, Whole Foods
Yeah.
is going to make your employees a healthier, happier, and more balanced employee at work. So, and for those of you that are watching, go out there and eat some healthy things. And sometimes those drive-throughs are not your best friend.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for doing this with us today. I learned a lot. I hope everybody else did. I do want to just remind everybody, you definitely want to follow this girl on TikTok. She's really I really, really enjoy everything that I've ever watched. She's had millions of views. A lot of her stuff goes viral. So I highly recommend that you take a look at that. So that's where you can find her on all of her social media. And this is her website. Let's get that out there. Let's see. This is her website right here. You can find her right there. And if you have, you feel that there is a possibility that your employees need some support as they go through it, divorce costs your company far more than it costs your employee. And we are here to help them through that process so that they can, we can streamline that process for them so they can spend less money and, most importantly, keep emotionally stable during this time. And we have a course for you so that you can help your employees through processes. So we want to give you this course. It's for free. You can take it. It's a 5-hour course. There are SHRM credits for those of you that are out there that need your SHRM credits. There's 5 hours in there for you. And it will teach you some of the things that your employees are going through, and give you some of the support and resource tools that you need to help your employees get through it in a kinder and gentler way. That is our goal. And if you would like to reach out to me personally, please take a look. This is my email address. Please feel free to reach out to me personally so that we can support your employees as they are going through the most difficult time of their lives. It's second only behind the death of a spouse. So please, let's help them. Let's help them make the right decisions and have a divorce that's right. Remember, we don't advocate for divorce, we advocate for divorce done right. I appreciate you, Leah, so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having
And I am so grateful for everybody. We will be back next Thursday with another topic on supporting your employees as they go through divorce. And on that, I wish you all a great rest of your week and happy almost weekend. Bye for now.